Hello, everyone, and welcome inside Mercedes-Benz Stadium for the SunDevilSource Postgame Show. I'm Blake Neiman, here with Chris Cartman, following an all-time classic in Atlanta, a double overtime heartbreaker for the Sun Devils in similar fashion to the 1996 Rose Bowl. Now, this game contained so many elements from the first half to second half. We're going to get into a lot more detail into it in an unfiltered podcast. But for now, Chris, just what are your initial reactions? You were at that 1996 Rose Bowl and what was the most magical season in ASU history up until this point, and now another magical season ends in another similar heartbreaking fashion.
Yeah, this was the only game that reminded me of that in terms of holding your breath, a spellbinding nature. You can feel your heart racing. I'm supposed to be dispassionate, and I've never felt just the tension of the moment like I felt watching this game. It was riveting. I know that a lot of ASU fans are brokenhearted, very emotional. People were crying. That's very much like what 1996 felt like. The heart, the resilience, the utter determination. Nothing like that at ASU. That in my career covering the team, 20 years, I have not seen anything like that. To come back the way that they did, the struggles that they had, that they overcame a 17-3 halftime deficit, 2 touchdowns and 2 two-point conversions in the fourth quarter. Mesmerizing.
The shift happened in the start of that fourth quarter. Steve Sarkisian, Texas's head coach, choosing to kick the field goal to go up by 16 as opposed to going for 2, going up by 17. Little did they know that Skattebo would turn into quarterback mode and throw a 42-yard touchdown to Malik McClain that ended up sparking the shift in what turned to be a remarkable comeback to end the game, forcing overtime, then ultimately getting a touchdown and a 2-point conversion in overtime to turn it into double overtime, where they ultimately came up short, but just a otherworldly type effort that showed so much gut, so much resilience, full of heart, literally not an ounce left on the field.
I was a little surprised that Steve Sarkisian decided to kick the PAT rather than go for 2 to try to make it a 3-score game at that point. The reality is you can never count ASU out if it's within some sort of striking range. And it was. And Texas had struggled to run the ball in this game. Quinn Ewers hit on a couple big plays earlier on, but then Shamari Simmons comes back into the game. He made some big plays early. You could tell that the body blows, the accumulative wear and tear of trying to handle Skattebo, it wore on Texas quite a lot. And just the determination that he and Sam Levin and these other guys have, and how hard that they played, their ability to complete that comeback and force overtime. I wasn't shocked by that. In fact, I said that it was going to be tough, but they could do that. To have the opportunity that they did with the 4th and 13, they called a cover 0 look, basically man free, so there's no safety help. You got to guard a guy. Quinn Ewers did a good job of checking to a max protection. He's a veteran, savvy quarterback, and they were able to slip a receiver into the back of the end zone. Shouldn't have been open. That's a devastating blow. 1 play away from advancing to the CFP semifinals, winning the Peach Bowl. Would have been as big of a win for ASU as since the 86 Rose Bowl. And they just came up that short, a hair short.
A hair short indeed, but almost a hair for not even having a chance in overtime. Dinks right up off the upright.
The second one that was missed.
Yes, and I know my reaction from the field felt like slow motion. Felt like the fans behind me in ASU were just watching on with their eyes glancing as the ball went toward the upright, and then dink.
Yeah.
And everything explodes.
I thought that was a ball don't lie moment though, Blake, because
the targeting call.
The targeting
non-targeting call rather.
The targeting non-call
right.
that they reviewed that looked so similar to the Shamari Simmons play. I mean, yes, it's a quarterback versus a receiver, but the orientation of the helmet, the location where the helmet hit, the fact that he was, I thought, a defenseless receiver, I didn't understand that. I thought that the ref swallowed the whistle, and there was a karma in the air here that contributed to that field goal miss, the second one, of course. These teams struggled on special teams. ASU was in the situation that it found itself in because of first half miscues. which we'll get into. But the emotion of that, just the pull and the swings, the people in the press box, they're serious, even-keeled people. And there was like, you could cut the tension with a knife. And ASU's fan base was incredible in this game. Their noise forced multiple false starts late in the game by Texas, and they only had half the stadium. I thought it was a very evenly split crowd. I thought but ASU was probably the louder crowd, especially in the second half. People thought, I guess my big takeaway, Blake, is 2-touchdown underdog. People thought ASU was going to be outclassed in this game. We'd seen some of those in the other CFP games earlier on. And no way. ASU ran 37 more plays or something like that than Texas. It dominated time of possession. Texas is going to be feeling that for like a week. That what ASU did to Texas, ASU beat Texas. Beat them with body blows. Cam Skattebo to win the MVP in a performance that ASU lost. At one point, I remember tweeting, like, he had more yards in the fourth quarter, early in the fourth quarter at some point, than Texas had in the game. He had more yards in the fourth quarter. A lot of people were like, oh yeah, Cam Skattebo, he's not that good. Give me a break. That dude is incredible.
And not only that, to speak to his incredible play on the field as he has done all season long, but to do it while when you're going to the sideline, you're puking and then putting your strap and your helmet back on, going out there and running the rock and running over people and scoring touchdowns like you do all season. And this dude's heart is just, it pours out to ASU. He said, ASU has changed my life forever. And he was not going to let anything stop him from leaving every ounce he had left in him on the field today.
The extra effort I was the best I've ever seen. There were so many times Texas's big, huge, athletic guys were swarming him, all over him. They had him wrapped up with the legs. He's pushing for extra yards. His hands on the ground. He's carrying guys. He said he felt sloshy in the first half. That was his word, new word, because he drank water too fast. Then he threw up. Dillingham called it puke and rally. I saw some people saying that's the ASU way, but yeah, I mean, to be sick and to feel that way and then to still be able to put that type of an effort forward against one of the best defenses in the country. Again, broke the all-time ASU single-season rushing record.
Benjamin in the house today.
Benjamin was here to see it. I think, in my opinion, he's the best ASU running back I've ever seen. Probably the best of all time. It's hard for me to go back and compare the 1970s or earlier versus this, but not since. Not in the Pac-12, Big 12 era. Nobody's been better. No way. And ASU's had a bunch of NFL running backs who have come through. Sam Levitt also, he was crying. He couldn't even talk. He talked about how much this meant to him, how he's not going to have the opportunity to play for Cam Skattebo. He was holding his hand. And
the entire presser.
He was holding.
They were holding their hands.
And Dillingham then reached over and he put his hand on Sam Levitt's leg to kind of steady him as he was giving an emotional conversation. The first half was rough. ASU had a very uncharacteristic performance in that first half compared to everything that we've seen almost the entire season. Maybe Cincinnati or early games notwithstanding, before ASU really made a lot of its improvements in the second half.
And people have to remember that ASU hadn't, Kenny Dillingham had said, ASU hadn't played a real 4 quarters of football since
24 days.
Yeah, it's been a very long time since the second to last game of the season against BYU.
They looked like that. There was the sync of the running game wasn't very good at the outset. I don't think Levitt was sharp early on in the game. He also was running around for his life. Yeah. I mean, there was play after play where blitz pressure was coming at him. Texas had a great game plan. They spied him with Colin Simmons or somebody else early in the game to try to take that away. As the game wore on, he started to be able to get free for some big gains. We didn't even mention he had the third and 12 or 13 scramble that he converted that then set up.
Dude, he's like the modern day Snake. His scrambling abilities are unreal.
In my opinion, he's the best quarterback I've seen at ASU since Jake Plummer. And it sounds crazy to say that because Andrew Walter set the all-time passing touchdown record at ASU. And I don't mean like he's already that good. I just mean what I think Sam Levitt is going to be is, in my opinion, going to be even better. I think he's going to end up being a Heisman candidate. I think he's going to end up being a first or second round draft pick. We were talking about this earlier. He's on that type of a trajectory. I think as long as he returns to ASU next year, this is going to be one of the favorites in the Pac-12.
Big 12, yeah.
Pardon me. Yeah, Big 12. Yeah. Now, it wasn't mistake-free. He missed some throws. There were some mistakes. He should have given the ball to Skattebo one time where they would have scored a touchdown. He even said he's hard on himself. He said there's things I made mistakes on that I should have been able to do better. In the red zone, things happen so quickly, and there were some processing things that you're going to learn. He made a bad decision throw on that third down. That was the interception to end the game, all the way across the field where you really can't make that throw.
But his willingness to take accountability for that starts when your head coach says, this loss is 100% on me. When Kenny Dillingham is willing to admit his mistakes, take accountability for himself, his players think, okay, if my head coach is going to represent and be vulnerable like that to the media, I'm going to be honest with the media and talk that way and take responsibility for my mistakes.
That's what I've said several times throughout the second half of the season is he gives a permission structure for his players to look inward and figure out what they need to be able to do better for themselves and for their teammates. He's taking responsibility for defensive calls, for offensive calls. He's making neither of those calls. He's not saying, yeah, I didn't like our call there. He's saying, I didn't do a good enough job, even in situations that were not his fault. He is the best leader of men that I have seen as a head coach at ASU in 30 years of covering ASU. He's 34 years old. He's the youngest Power 4 coach in the country. There's no way that ASU is in this situation without Kenny Dillingham. And they agreed to a contract extension. We reported that yesterday, late New Year's Eve, breaking news. Cam Skattebo said he didn't even know that had happened, which is kind of funny, right? Marcus Arroyo, Brian Ward, Sam Levitt, Jordan Tyson. By the way, not having Jordan Tyson in this game, ASU wins with Jordan Tyson. In my opinion, it's. I think it would have been a different game. I think ASU would have won. I mean, who knows? But by 7 to 14 points, in my opinion.
There's a ton of talent, coaching-wise, player-wise, returning to this team. You know, obviously the big loss of Cam Skattebo going on to his professional career, surely to be an NFL draft pick. But thinking about this season before we peer into the next, how do you even encapsulate a season like this when over the past 2 seasons we've covered a team that has had back-to-back 3-9 years, has been under NCAA sanctions, has had one of the darkest clouds of any program in the country, and then Kenny Dillingham and Skattebo and Levitt all come in as this encapsulating savior and reactivate the Valley to an energy and an aura around the community in Phoenix, one of the largest cities in the country, for this community to rally around a program that has been a sleeping giant that is now fully alive.
Yeah, I wrote a column several days ago about the value and importance of belief in yourself, right? And so the reality is that you can look at what their records were last year. You can look at who they have coming back. You can look at the height, weight, speed, production of players. You cannot measure a heart.
Nope, you can't.
You can't understand a person's commitment to themselves and their teammates and what that can propel you to in your life. And when you have a team, you have multiple of those people coming together as your leaders who are then lifting everything within your operation. That's what Cam Skattebo, Xavier Alford, Sam Levitt, Lee Faltanu, Ben Coleman, and others in this program provided. No, they 16th in the preseason media poll. They didn't even care.
It's unbelievable.
They didn't even care. Yeah, we're gonna go win the Big 12 championship this year. When you get older, all this life experience that you acquire, it sort of takes away that whimsical nature that you have when you're young, where it's like this quixotic notion that you can accomplish things and that they're attainable. And the thing that I took from this season is people shouldn't feel that way when you get older. You should still believe, and you should still attempt to push yourself as hard as you can to accomplish the things that you want at work, in your relationships, with your families, in your community, because it matters.
There's plenty of lessons to take away from this ASU team. There's a lot of stuff that sticks with it, but I think belief in yourself and belief that you can achieve anything you want if you have enough heart and commitment and desire. I think all of us can take a lesson from that. This team was very inspiring and a pleasure to cover and a pleasure to watch this season. And we'll have full coverage continuing after this game and into the rest of the spring ball and so forth.
Look forward to it.
Thanks so much, everybody, for tuning along the whole season here on SunDevilSource.com. For Chris Carman, I'm Blake Neiman saying so long from Mercedes-Benz Stadium as ASU's historic season ends in heartbreak.